What's a podcast? I like your show.
How did I get here? Welcome to the Shipe Sports Show.
Good evening, sports fans. Welcome to another episode of the Shipe Sports Talk Show. I am your host, always, Matthew Shipe, joined by my co-host and producer, Paul. Paul, what's going on, buddy?
What's up?
I forgot my own name there for a second.
Can you hear me?
And
Yeah,
join all... I hear you. I forgot my name for a second. I don't know why. Jeez. I saw the hangover from that bad Sunday I had to endure. Joining me, as always, my two wonderful co-hosts, the two coolest guys I know, Mr. Anthony, Mr. Chris. Everyone's wearing red tonight. What happened? How did we coordinate this?
For the Capitals.
Yeah, rocking the red.
No. I'm not wearing for the Capitals, but glad to be here tonight, gentlemen.
So we have an awesome packed show tonight. We're going to start with fantasy football as always. We're also going to talk in the fantasy football segment, talk a little running backs because I think a lot of us got crippled this past week, myself included. Then we're going to talk about some MLB postseason. Actually, before we get to postseason, we'll continue NFL. I got some things I want to say after Sunday. I'm sure Anthony, he's got to, basically something's got to give this Sunday. And the Redskins put up a pretty good effort. And Chris lost $30 this week, so we'll have him talk about that.
$55.
We'll talk about that when it comes.
Yeah.
After that, we're going to some MLB postseason. We already had one game. We had two games already this week, the wild card, but we'll talk about the game earlier today. Get to our predictions. I know you guys are want to hear mine because I do have an upset in the first round. And then afterwards, Anthony, I guess we can call you our hockey guru on the show. You're going to talk some NHL. There you go. You can be our beat reporter for hockey.
I'm not in no way, shape, or form the hockey guru. We will have to get Joe on here soon for that.
That guy doesn't even. Never mind. Keep that off the show. Now we'll have to try to get Bojo back on here maybe this month to talk some hockey. I'm sure he loves coming on the show and talking about it. And I'm sure last time he was on, I missed it. I was on a golf trip. So let's go and get right to fantasy football. You know what we'd like to do? Start and sit them, guys. Before tonight's game, we'll do quarterbacks. I'll get mine done first because I do have one playing tonight. Jameis Winston tonight. As we saw with the Patriots the past couple of weeks, they've been getting blown up by quarterbacks. I mean, look what Alex Smith did in week 1. Look what Deshaun Watson did last week. Cam Newton, since his wide receivers like to run routes. Okay, good. That didn't get plugged in anywhere.
What?
So, never mind. Did you not hear his comments yesterday?
Oh, yeah, I did.
Yeah. I think people took him the wrong way, but we're not going to get into that. My sit-in this week is going to be Deshaun Watson. Actually, I'm going to sit in this week. He's going against Kansas City. I think he's going against a really tough defense. He had two very easy defenses back-to-back weeks with the Patriots and the Titans. I think this week will be a lot harder for him. He's going to get, I think he's going to get some pass rush, going up against probably one of the best cornerbacks in the league when he's not getting penalties every other play, Marcus Peters. So I'm going to go with don't start Deshaun Watson. The hype is there, just not this week. Anthony, we'll go with you.
All right, for my stardom, someone that I think that I'm surprised I haven't named by now, and that's Eli Manning. I think that against San Diego, I think that he's going to have a pretty decent game. His stats so far this year, obviously it's not showing in the win-loss column, but he ranks in the top 10 in completion percentage and QBR. So I think that he's going to continue to have to throw the ball because the running game is non-existent again. And I think this could be a game where San Diego really on defense, as you can see, they're 0-4 in the same boat as us, has been weak. So I think this is a game Eli could really show up and show out in fantasy.
Not to cut you off here, but you talked about the running game, and we said about some running backs to add. And since you're talking Giants, I think Gallman's going to be a pretty good guy going forward. He looked really great for you all the past, last game. And this guy was tremendous in college for Clemson. I thought he would have been a little bit of a higher pick. So, speaking with the Giants, and he's also a guy, and we saw at Clemson, PPR format, he can do some damage. So, going with Eli bouncing off to the Giants, look for him. Look for Eli to maybe look for him in the passing game. Because you think about it, the other running backs they have, I don't see Perkins as a PPR running back. This guy I actually see as one.
No. And we'll get to that when we talk individually later about the teams, but I definitely like him as a waiver. If you did pick him up in the waiver wire as a stash to see what happens, and if you absolutely need him in a flex spot. But to go with my sit-em, a guy that just seems to be struggling, that's Carson Palmer. I don't think that he's really found or had that big game, and I think against Philly it's going to be another tough game for him, and I'm going to sit Carson Palmer.
All right. Christopher?
I kind of am gonna have to disagree with both of your, well, two of what one your stardom. I guess Eli he's got to light it up someday, right? And I guess this is what a better spot than to do it now, right?
I'm sensing you're hating on Eli this year.
I'm
I
just
really
saying.
am
I
sensing
mean,
that. I think it's because
he-
of who you're a fan of. Let's just
I really
get
think
past that. You're a
what?
Skins fan. Because you're a Skins fan.
Yeah, but I never really
You've
liked.
been on him
I
all.
never
You've been on Eli all year
completely
long. He's putting up the
sidebar.
stats though.
I just hate the fact that he gets more cred than Peyton Manning a lot of the time.
He
A
does
lot
have
of
name.
people.
Guess
No, I'm
what?
just saying
Just
that
what he
when-
did what Peyton couldn't do it that often. Beat the Patriots in the postseason.
But that's fine. He did eventually.
Eli Manning's not mentioned ever as the greatest quarterback in the regular season, so I
Yeah,
don't know where you're saying Eli gets more credit than Peyton.
I've heard a lot of people saying,
Anthony,
"Oh,
we normally don't agree about Eli.
I'm a Giants fan, and I would never give Eli more credit than Peyton. Peyton was better than Eli Manning. I like
lot of
Eli Manning,
people-
obviously.
And
A
don't
lot of
bring up
people-
Odell because Sterling Shepard has done a
I'm
lot
not-
this year as well.
I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying a lot of people have said, "Oh, he's got 2 rings," and then of course, well, this was before Peyton got his second, but they were saying, "Oh, well, he's got 2 rings." So,
Rings.
say that again.
He's better than a lot of guys that have just 1 rings. Trent Dilfer.
I will tell you, I did say when Eli won his ring, obviously I was like, well, Eli's won because everyone's like, oh, Eli sucks, and I said, well, if he's so bad, then why'd he win before his brother? Not discounting what Peyton's done, but if someone sits here and says that Eli is better than Peyton, I will not agree with that.
Yeah. All right. Well, back to what we were talking about. Stardom and Sid'em. This week, I'm going to start Big Ben at home, most importantly, against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Saxonville has, been pretty stingy against quarterbacks, but not necessarily top-tier quarterbacks like Ben Roethlisberger can be, especially at home, especially after Antonio Brown kind of cried a little bit about getting the ball.
This is an odd week. This is the week Sackville comes.
Oh, Lord.
Every other week.
Every other week.
Every other week, man.
But Big Ben at home has put up probably, I think the stat right here, at least 24 fantasy points in the past 21 home games in Heinz Field. So I don't think that's going to change. I think Jacksonville is not going to be able to stop Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell. In terms of Sid'em this week, I'm going to have to go with Russell Wilson. I think this is going to be a defensive battle against the Los Angeles Rams. And the Rams' front seven have been able to get to the quarterback in the past couple games. This is a division game. These two opponents know each other. I don't think this is going to be a really high-scoring game. I know Russell Wilson can run around all day with the best of them, but I think eventually the pressure is going to get to him, and I don't think he's going to be a top 10 quarterback starter.
In your money lead.
Well, I think you should sit him though.
No. Well, I'm gonna let you two do running backs first, real quick, because I gotta tell someone how to get somewhere. Because if I don't, she'll end up in like $10 So you two do your running backs real quick. Give me just 1 minute.
It's called GPS.
Matt, Chris, you want to go first, or you want me to start?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. For running back, as a guy that we literally talked right before the show, and that's Amir Abdullah. I like his matchup, and I feel he's getting more touches as they're going forward and finally realizing that he should be the bell cow there.
Yeah.
Obviously, on passing downs, they still have Riddick, who's been very good for them. And then for the Sid'em side, Green Bay is just right now they're just in a influx of what they're going to do. Montgomery's ribs, they're not sure. Then they have Jones and they have Williams, both rookies that they're still trying to get involved. So I think it's just a tough spot to be in there. If they had one clear-cut running back, I think that's a great fantasy position to be in. But I think right now there's no one clear-cut guy to play right now until you know what happens with Montgomery.
Right. Yeah, I mean they're saying he was full go today wearing a vest, but it's tough, man. It's tough. All it takes is one helmet to the ribs and you're out, So if you're going to play him, that's a gamble, I think. And a lot of people have to, because they didn't get the running back they wanted in waiver wire, which is something maybe we can talk about later. So this week for my stardom, someone that I'm going to be playing in a few leagues that I have him in is Carlos Hyde. He was kind of a late round pickup for me. Obviously, he wasn't drafted, for me at least, he wasn't drafted as a RB1 or RB2, but because of bye weeks, I think, and the fact that they are playing the Colts, which really have not been good against running backs, especially in the PPR format. They've been giving up a lot of passes to the running back position, and Carlos Hyde is is their guy. Carlos Hyde is their star player on the San Francisco 49ers offense, and if anyone's going to get a touchdown, if anyone's going to get goal line looks, it's going to be Carlos Hyde. So I definitely think he's going to be one to definitely crack the top 10 this week in terms of fantasy points. For me, the sit-em this week is going to be Eddie Lacy. Kind of Matt was talking about how he picked up Thomas Rawls, and Sean Payton kind of alluded to Rawls being the number one back.
I want you to think about what you just said real quick.
What?
I want you to go back and rethink
no.
everything. Do we have a dunce cap? Can we put like
I'm
a
looking
like a
at the
dummy cap
Saints right now. That's why.
Oh God, that sound looks so wrong. All right, keep going.
Basically, their backfield is too muddled to start anyone. Whether it's Rawls, Lacy, McKissick, who some people kind of took a gamble on in the waiver wire. I don't think you can start anyone, especially against this LA Rams defense this week.
All right, my start this week is going to be, I'm going to roll the, you said to start the quarterback for the opposing team. I'm going to start Leonard Fournette again. This guy has proven that not only is he a good running back, but PPR, he's everything Jacksonville want. You can say he's this year's Ezekiel Elliott. Ding, ding, ding.
Ding, ding.
Give me the ding, ding, Paul. I say it right. No, ding, ding. I start Fournette, man. Just the way he's been doing, the pass game, the running game. Even with that horrendous offensive line they have there, that hasn't been the best. This guy's finding holes and running through people. So he is everything that we thought he was going to be when he came out of college. Sit him this week. I'm going to start like you. I'm going to sit a guy like you that people were picking off waiver wire, and that's Latavius Murray. You really don't know who's going to be the guy there in the Vikings. Murray. Then you have Jerome McKinnon. You don't know what's going to happen there. Did I say his name wrong?
Yeah, it's okay. McKinnon, you were right.
What did I say?
You said Jerome.
His name is Jarek McKinnon.
Oh, Jarek. Where did I get Jerome? I don't know. Just a J. J. McKinnon. Whatever.
McKinnon.
I'm taking my dunce cap off and giving it back to you. There you go.
You said Sean Payton over Pete Carroll. Mine. At least
he said the name right. He just had the wrong team.
I'm gonna sit him, Murray.
Wow.
You can't trust anyone. All these teams that lost running backs this week,
right now?
Can't trust. What
You
game?
guys have it in the background or anything?
The Yankees
Thursday night
or
football.
the football game? No.
Yeah. Already first drive, Tom Brady threw an interception. So
East.
Winston's driving right now. First down already.
Okay. Anyway, I'm gonna sit Murray this week, and one of my big pickups for let's see now you got me all thing because
The running backs. Who you got?
I actually picked up this week. LeGarrette Blount was in a lot of my leads, and I feel like he's getting the train going. He had a good amount of yards last week. Of course, he had that 60-something yard carry, but I feel like he's starting to get more involved with the offense, more of the goal line carries, and I see him going big forward. And there's a big wide receiver I had. Since we're segueing over to wide receivers, I think Chris, in your money lead, I got one of the biggest wide receiver pickups there is out there right now in your lead, and I went and picked up Will Fuller.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was
in a 10-team league. In 10-team leagues, he would be out there in the waiver wire. Definitely.
I think in 10-team leagues, that's crazy that he's out there with
He
some
was
of the
injured until just now.
Right.
People,
Yeah.
But even Snead was gone in our lead, so I think Fuller's better than William Snead. So.
Well, he was drafted, I think, before we even knew about the suspension that he had.
I guess, right. All right, well, let's go to wide receivers, and Chris, go ahead, do your start sitting for wide receivers. Let's go ahead with that.
So wide receivers this week, I just watched a replay. I think it was the NFL Network or NFL whatever Instagram page posted a Throwback Thursday when Larry Fitzgerald played against the Eagles in a conference championship game. And it was like a flea flicker play, and it just brought back all the good memories. I think Larry Fitzgerald is going to go off on the Philadelphia Eagles. Keenan Allen had a pretty big game against them last week, and I think Larry Fitzgerald can do the same exact thing, especially in PPR formats. I think he's going to get a bunch of balls, probably 8 to 10 catches, and that right there is 8 to 10 points. So I would definitely start Larry Fitzgerald. For the sit-em this week, I'm going to sit Amari Cooper. Unfortunately, with Derek Carr gone, I'm not sure.
He should have been set 3 weeks ago. The way he's been playing lately.
I'm just saying, sometimes you got to start your studs.
All those top 20 picks on him.
He was drafted in the second round in a lot of leagues, and I'm not sure EJ Manuel is going to be the guy to throw Amari Cooper some touchdowns.
EJ Manuel.
Yeah.
I
think that's all you have to say. EJ Manuel's a quarterback. So.
I had another guy tonight. I really thought this guy was going to explode tonight against the Patriots, and I thought the Patriots were going to use all their resources on Mike Evans, so I went to the opposite, and I put Deshaun Jackson as a starter this week. I had him before the game even started. Like I said, my starters this week, I'm going to have 3 people from this game. I just think, with looking at like we said, the Patriots, secondary, obviously they just went 3 in it, and they just, Buccaneers are punting the ball back, but I feel like Deshaun can really exploit this secondary with his deep ball, with the deep ball presence that he has, especially if everyone looking at Mike Evans. This guy's got to erupt sooner or later. As Skin fans, being a Skin fan, Paul, me just being in the area, sooner or later this guy's going to erupt for a 60 or 70-yard touchdown, do his little back pedal in the end zone. My sit-em this week, crap, Chris, you took mine, so I'm going to go the other guy, Michael Crabtree. Wide receivers from Oakland, don't play him.
I'm not even sure if he's going to play. I'm not sure if is he practicing.
Did he get hurt
right
now? Crap.
He was hurt last week. Yeah, he was hurt last week.
I had Cooper, and you just threw me in a loop right now. Crap. Anthony, go real quick, and let me come back to the sit-em.
Well, for once, we can all agree I had Cooper as my sit-em this week, too. So I actually just replaced him. But for my stardom, I actually have Mike Evans. I think that he will be able to exploit the secondary, of the Patriots. And I think Gilmore, after signing him as their big acquisition in the offseason and letting Logan Ryan walk, just has not been the player they were expecting. He was actually a last-second active that it was possibility he didn't play today. So that could be something that maybe Evans can exploit. And when you're a top elite receiver in the league, you always have that potential to make those plays. And then for my sit-em, I took Doug Baldwin since you guys took Amari Cooper. I just haven't seen the explosiveness from that offense that I'm expecting. And I think, again, their big issue is the offensive line as well there. Mm-hmm. They're just not able to protect. Luckily with them, they have a very mobile quarterback that can make plays outside of the pocket to get it downfield and extend the play. So I'm going to go with Doug Baldwin against the very strong so far and surprising for many people Los Angeles Rams and their defense.
Yep.
I'm going to sit, now that I think about it, go to that game, Sammy Watkins, only because he's going against Richard Sherman. And I feel like
the stud from UCF on the other side, Mr. Griffin.
All right, here we go with this nonsense. I think Cooper Kupp actually has a better relation with Jared Goff. And I tell you what, guys, the Rams, since we talked about them, very surprising. I'm not surprised them at all, especially this offense, because Sean McVay is an offensive genius. He's a quarterback genius, it seems like. Just look what he did with Cousins, and now he's doing it with Jared Goff. The Rams needed this guy. And now look at them. Their only loss was to the Skins, which the Skins...
And it was a close game.
It was a close game. They squeaked it out. So I'm going to say sit Sammy Watkins this week only because of Sherman. So let's get to tight ends. My starting for time this week will be Delaney Walker, mainly because if whether he goes or not, I feel like Walker's got to become a bigger part of this offense, especially with Mario not able to maybe stay in the pocket as long, maybe not scramble as much. I feel like there could be a lot of checkdowns to Walker to try to get him going. And my sim this week is another guy from this game. It's O.J. Howard, because he had that big touchdown last week, and he was one of the top tight end pickups in the waiver wire, but they were still saying Cameron Brate is still the guy, number one. So I think everyone jumped the gun on O.J. Howard. I jumped the gun on him in drafting him. I've gone dropping him for Ashley, the tight end from the Giants, who surprisingly is having a really good sneaky year for the Giants. It seems like they finally got a tight end. I'm going to go say this. This may be their best tight end since Shockey. They really haven't had a guy.
They haven't had a guy since Shockey.
I know, Anthony, you'll go and say, like Will Tye, Larry Donnell.
Oh, those guys were not good, man.
No, I think
Ingram is definitely the best since Shockey.
He's the second coming of Shockey for them, and I think he could be more athletic, I think, than Shockey. So I'm going to go with
the speed on him.
Yeah, I'm going to sit O.J. Howard and just tell people to calm down on the hype. Anthony, tight end?
Stardom, I'm going with Travis Kelce. He's been a mainstay as a focal point of that offense. And then for my sit-em, it's a guy that usually finds the end zone very often. Not big in the amount of yards he gets, but that's Kyle Rudolph. With Case Keenum, he just hasn't had that same connection that you've seen in the past season with Bradford and even with Bridgewater before that. So I just don't think Rudolph is a play that you want to be making right now, just because he hasn't shown that same capability with connection with Case Keenum here.
Chris.
All right.
Damn. Sorry,
Can you just turn off the TV?
I switched it to Argentina versus Peru right now in World Cup qualifying.
All right, no one cares about those two teams.
All right, so stardom this week.
those
Matt,
guys.
you took mine.
I don't disrespect now.
I have Delaney Walker and a lot of
USA.
different teams. USA, no, they're not even
Okay,
going to make it out of their group.
All right.
So
Okay, we'll talk about them later because I'm going to smack you right now because your country never makes the World Cup. So keep going.
that's fine. First of all, I have two countries, and second of all, neither one of them are going to make it. But still,
I have one just won the World Cup. Keep going.
okay. Charles Clay is going to be my stardom this week. He actually, surprisingly, I'm not sure if you guys knew this, but he is actually number 3 in terms of tight ends. If you're talking about a PPR league, he's getting all the targets behind Shady. Jordan Matthews, who's their number 1 receiver, is now down. So Charles Clay is just going to get even more looks than before. In terms of Sidham, this one was a tough one because there's a bunch of tight ends that, you're probably going to have to start, but you're going to temper your expectations. But for me, I think someone that maybe some people actually picked up this week after he had a big game was Tyler Kroft for the Bengals. He had a 2-touchdown game last week, which is, something that you would expect out of Tyler Eifert. But since he's hurt, Tyler Kroft, similar build, was able to pick up those touchdowns. And this week, unfortunately, the Bills do have a pretty stingy defense, and Tyler Kroft did pick up an injury this past weekend at that game. So I definitely think you're going to have to temper your expectations if you picked him up this week off the waiver wire.
All right, that's going to do it for our stardom and sit 'em for the week. We did go through some waiver wires that some of us did pick up. Hopefully you got who you want out the waiver wire. I know Chris forgot in all his leads.
Yep.
So Anthony,
I was left with 0 basically, except for
Yes.
in the one league, in my league. I think I got exactly who I wanted.
and then with me and Anthony, we went 1-1 against each other this week in our lead. So
Oh, you were playing each other in 2 leagues?
We played each
Yeah.
other last week, both
Ah,
leagues.
okay,
1-1.
okay.
Yahoo, we split.
Gotcha.
So and Paul, how are you doing in your lead, by the way?
That's a good question. Let me log in for the first time and check it out.
Oh, jeez. Here, I'm already here for you, Paul. Hey, he's 2-2, and he hasn't checked anything. Good for him.
What? Nice.
That's okay. I'm 4-0 in that lead. Let's go. All right. We're going to shift gears. Still talk some NFL. We'll get the baseball playoffs in just a moment. So this past, if you guys don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and just take the floor on this one real quick. I got a lot to get off my chest. Anthony, I know you've been waiting for this for a while.
Floor's yours.
So this past week, we had Tennessee versus Houston. Tennessee 2-1, Houston 1-2. Chance to really, I guess you both agreed with me last week, take control of that division, show that you're the new top dog in the division, and you're going against a rookie quarterback. And 1-2, this is your chance. This is your chance. Before I can even blink an eye, it's 14-0. Before I can blink an eye, it's 28-0. Okay, cool. 28-7. All right, cool. Maybe we can crawl our way back. Maybe this is something. 14-28. All right, cool. I'm starting to feel a little bit. No, 14-24. Feeling a little bit better. 40-something seconds. 14-30. Channels turn off red zone. I'm done. Dunsky with this team. So not with this team, just for this week. 57-14. Only because a touchdown in the fourth quarter got called back because penalty. It should have been 61-14. As an NFL, Anthony's not even doesn't even care.
I'm listening to you. I'm writing down some stuff.
As an NFL team, I think you both can agree. No professional team should allow 57 points, especially against a rookie quarterback. Am I right?
I don't ever want to see someone letting up that many points, but
With a rookie!
that's not to discount Deshaun Watson, man.
No, he's the best
You did
quarterback
say
in that
he's
class.
The best quarterback
I
in the
did
class,
say that.
so
I did say
you're
that. But
eating your own words there.
here's the thing about Tennessee. You went out and you spent money on the secondary. You went out and got Logan Ryan. You went out and got Anthony. Help me with his freaking
Jonathan
last name.
Cyprian.
I don't know why I keep forgetting that last name. You drafted Adoree Johnson. You have a really good front seven. Jarrell Casey had a good day. I think he had, what do you have on him right now? He had a sack. Derek Morgan had a sack. So, you're putting pressure on Watson, but you can't stop him when he runs the ball. And you just faced a guy in Seattle that does the same thing, and you were able to contain him. So I don't know what the difference was. Spend all this money, spend this draft pick. First off, you put Brian McCann on freaking DeAndre Hopkins when he should have been shadowed by Logan Ryan. That's what you pay a number one corner to do, to shadow number one guy. What do the Redskins do with Josh Norman when they play him against Odell and Dez? What does he do? Chris?
Shadows him.
Shadows him, and guess what? They don't do crap against him. You have a Dory Jackson, probably one of the fastest cornerbacks in the league now. Really good on the punt return. Why don't you put him on Will Fuller? Why? Common sense. I know it's easy for me to say this, but it just seems like common sense. You put fast on fast. Am I right?
Yeah,
Chris?
I mean, if you're playing Madden, yeah.
I think if you're playing outside of Madden, you match up what you have. You don't put Brian McCann on DeAndre because DeAndre lit him up.
I think once it gets out of hand, you got to start looking at the matchup and being like, hey, he's just having a hard time over there. Let's try and switch it.
He had a hard
you
time
don't always
all
go.
game long. We lose this. 57. You're a professional football team, and that defensive back coach should have came in Monday and said, here's my key card. Here are my keys. Here's my playbook. I'm just going to quit. They should have fired his ass. Because you know what, Dick LeBeau, he's drawing up the blitzes, but guess what? The secondary can't get it long enough.
I mean, you said playbook. What playbook was he using? Because
there wasn't a playbook. He
Yeah,
just said go out and play man and just go sit on your ass all day. Mariota, God bless the guy, was running all over the place. Why don't you do some read options? Because it was obviously working against this team. They didn't know what they were doing. It was working. And then Rashard Matthews, you piece of crap. Mariota threw a perfect high ball to you, and you could get mossed, and then you just give up. He could have deflected the ball out of the cornerback's hand. Nah, he said, nah, it's too high. I could have gotten it, but I'm just going to let you just get an interception, take it back. Garbage. That's why he's not number one. That's why he was a slot when he was in Miami. And Corey Davis. Dude, get your hamstring going, man. Killing us. This dude, the first game, this dude showed what he could do, and now hamstring again. God, every time. It's frustrating,
don't talk
man.
to me about injuries. Don't even start talking to me about injuries. You want to
What?
talk to me about it? Oh, you know what? I know we're talking about football, but praise the Lord. The Mets fired their trainer. It took them 3 seasons to figure it out.
But it's 57, dude. They have to win this week. You got to go out and you got to beat Miami this week. Because after this, you got the dude. They're saying
it's day to day.
They're saying he's practicing those, so we'll see what happens. Because after Miami, then you go next week to a Monday night game against the Colts. So you could technically roll out Mariota this week, play conservative offense, and then he gets an 8-day rest until Monday night.
Games.
We may lose back to back to back. For some reason, we can't beat division opponents, even though they suck.
You got to win these next 2 games, especially against the Dolphins and the Colts.
So that's me. I think it's pathetic. Defensive back coach should just fire him. I don't get why people don't. It's whatever. People should. How bad that defensive back unit is, the coach should be fired because obviously he sucks at teaching them whatever he's trying to teach them. I mean, in order to you got to put pressure. I mean, you can't. I mean, how can you do blitzes if you have to if you have to do cover 3 or cover 4 because you can't trust your guys? Then you can't bring the blitzes because you don't trust your cornerbacks. So you can't blame Dick LeBeau because he does a good blitz scheme, but unless you get in the quarterback's face within 2 seconds, you're gonna get eat up. So so what can you do? Can't do anything. Whatever. That's it. Anthony, you're 0-4. How do you feel right now?
Oh, great.
Awesome. Good.
Yeah.
Glad you feel my woes. Chris, you're 2-2. How do you feel about the game?
Well, we're on prime time, and I'm surprised that 2 primetime games back to back we actually showed up and we played really, really well. We should have won that game. The game was in Josh Doxson's hands, and he dropped it.
Okay.
Let me ask you about
Say
that
about it.
play at the end. I want to before we even. I know what you're going to ask, so I'm going to preface this. Did you watch that play? Did you watch the progression of Jordan Reed on the outside on the right, wide open?
I did. I saw that. I didn't see it at that time, but I saw it later on.
As a fan, as a quarterback in that situation, do you think that Jordan Reed's earned that throw before Doxson?
Well, who was the first read though? I don't know.
Well, I'm just saying, Reed was they had Reed against a safety, and he had him beat off the line. He had him by 3 or 4 steps. Not to say you don't try and get it to Doxson, but do you think Reed should have been the first look there once you see the matchup on the line that he's got the safety and no help over the top?
I mean, it's possible. Yeah. I mean, it's all in retrospect, and what is it?
I know.
Hindsight is 20/20. But if that's the play, and he ran the play and he threw it up to Josh Doxson, who had, he had it, and he dropped it. But
Doxson has to make the play. I agree with you on that.
I mean,
Do you blame now? Do you go like what I've seen on Facebook and Twitter, where people are blaming Dotson for this loss?
you too. I think you said that too.
I didn't say it was his fault,
But
I
you
never
just-
said that.
If you're going to say no about that, you can't get mad at Rashard Matthews for dropping the ball on Mariota's pass.
Ooh,
I didn't blame him. I didn't blame the
You
loss.
said that he was a
crap.
piece of exactly. So for dropping a pass, Doxson dropped a game-winning pass. So I think that would be more likely that people should be upset about them almost knocking off the Chiefs inside Kansas City.
Here, this is what I wrote about Dotson on Twitter. I said Dotson needs more reps. The guy has tons of potential, but needs to play more. That's my thing with Dotson and the Redskins. They don't put him in enough. He's shown
How do
flash.
you earn more reps though, Matt? When you're in
I
a
don't know
sport?
what he
Practice.
does during practice.
No. How do you
But-
earn more? You make
Make plays.
plays when you get put
Okay,
in the game.
but just last week against the Raiders, he was like, "Oh my God, he just mossed this guy." And this week he drops. But
I'm
you
not
can
saying
also
write him off, but I'm saying you have to. If you want to get the positives, you got to take the negatives with it. So if you want to be a big player in the league, you got to take the critiques with it. And him dropping that play, you can
That's
turn
what
it
you're-
however you want.
in
It
that
costs your
game
team the game. It costs the team the game.
was a defensive coordinator. You want to know why? Defense coordinator, because out of the half, who wasn't doing anything in the first half in that game? For Cincinnati, Kansas City. What player for Kansas City didn't have anything done in the first half? Just name the
Reed.
player. What happened in the second half?
They started being fed the ball more.
Because Andy Reid and that offense, or Andy Reid's offense, they changed the offense up to get going. The Redskins defense, they didn't make any changes. They thought they had it won, and then when Hunt started getting the ball moving, they still didn't make changes. That's always been the Redskins' MO. They suck at making halftime adjustments. It's always
Mhm.
been, Chris, see, you're agreeing. The Redskins'
Yeah.
MO, even always against Andy Reid. And against any
Well, Andy Reid knows us. He's been playing us for many years.
that plays against the Redskins, when they made second half adjustments on offense or something, the Redskins for some reason don't make any adjustments to get the ball going. They don't call a timeout to say, okay, look, we need to do this, and that. Reid made the adjustment, and Kareem Hunt went and won me a fantasy lead. Now, speaking of fantasy, Chris, how'd your week go in fantasy in terms of money?
Oh, well, I lost because of that lateral. Kansas City defense decided to run it in for a touchdown. It was my work league. It came down to the tiebreaker in terms of points, and I had it won up until they picked it up and ran it in for no apparent reason.
Yeah, do you guys think that was a douche move on their part?
Do
Oh,
you
yeah.
think that's the worst beat when it comes to
Yes.
a cover that you've seen in recent
Yes.
memory?
Yeah, but if you picked the over, you won.
But no, not even the over. If you had the Redskins covering the 7, you won.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden they fumble the ball and the guy runs it in. Not even
Right.
like
Oh,
extra point puts it
Now,
over.
Chris
The
said it was
touchdown
a
put it
douche
over.
move. He's a Skins fan. Do you think it's a douche move?
Listen,
Or do you think that guy was just so caught up in the moment he
I
won
think the
score?
defense is like, well, how many times am I going to get a chance to score a touchdown? Now
Exactly.
that he needed to win, no. But I mean, it's one of those areas where whether you're a fan of either team or not, it's like, man, a lot of people just lost out on a lot of money because a lot of people
Do
had.
you think if someone found his Twitter handler and gave it out, do you think he just got destroyed on Twitter?
I'm sure people wrote to him. There was probably, there's always the fans. You see fans now in fantasy when they're like, oh,
Yeah.
you're costing me my
What
fantasy
do you
game.
think
So
about fans
Right.
that tweet players and say, "Hey, thanks for getting hurt" or whatever, and you cost me? What do you think about fans
I
that
think
do
it's
that?
laughable. I think it's laughable because you know what? At the end of the day, those guys are cashing their checks and they're playing
Right.
the game that they love to play. They do not care about what our fantasy
You know what? I
things
love
are.
Kareem Hunt
I'm-
'cause he goes on and
I'm a
says,
fan, and I get mad when my team's like, "Oh, come on, that guy just freaking cost me a game." I'm not gonna go out there on
Mhm.
Twitter and be like, "Thanks for you know what he's gonna say to me? He's like, "What was that?
Who
I'm
are you?"
sorry, I couldn't hear you over the $1,000 I just
Yeah,
cashed for
hello?
that 1 minute."
Hello?
Yeah,
just like all the
Like,
dummies that
stack
are
of time.
Stack of hundreds.
Yeah.
Hello? I'm sorry.
waste
I can't
his
hear you.
time. The thing that bothers me most is when they tweet these guys when they're injured and they're like, "Oh, you need to stop being injured and get back on the field." Like, dude, the first and foremost thing that guy needs to worry about is his health, not your fantasy team.
What about that one year where Maurice Jones-Drew had like that wide open touchdown? He kneeled on like the 2-yard line. Oh,
Oh, yeah.
that was,
Was that Maurice Jones-Drew?
it was.
I think Brian Westbrook did the same thing.
Yeah.
A
That was a
couple
while
of them had
back.
done it. Yeah, when they're trying to
Yeah.
like ice the game.
Yeah,
like, 'cause
they
it's
just
over,
kneel right
and
at
then
the
they're
one.
Like, yeah, I'm not going to score and give him the ball back.
Yep.
That would've killed me.
Yep.
All right, so let's
It
shift now
happens. That's
from
football.
the NFL. We're going to shift over to real quick, Chris. I'm going to ask you, Anthony. Anthony, I'll ask you too. We'll do. We've done this for the past couple weeks. We got some 0-4 teams. We have another matchup of two 0-4s. Do the Giants break through?
Man, it's really just it's a loaded question, man, because I don't even know what to say about the team because it's not lack of trying. It's just they just don't have they don't close games. Because literally they've been in every game so far except the first game against the Cowboys, which I think was a wake-up call. But they've been there right at the end. And it's not a lack of talent. On paper, this team has all the talent to win games. But they're just not winning the games that they need to win. And I think Sunday they should win. I'm going to say yes, they finally get their first win on Sunday against the Chargers.
The battle of the NFL Draft 2004 draft class number 1 and 2
Very
pick.
comparable stats, too.
Think about that. Chris, who do you got?
1 and 4 picks.
I'm going to go Chargers.
I'm going to go Giants. Okay, now just yes or no to the teams they get a win. Cleveland plays the Jets. Do they get a win?
No.
No.
Nope.
Jets
You know,
are
I was one of the
surprising.
guys who had
Jets are
Jets.
surprising me.
I
Yeah.
had them 1-15.
I'm surprised they
Some
won.
people had them 0. I think they were the only team not favored in any game.
Don't
Yeah.
write home about them, but they're surprising me that I thought Jacksonville would win that game last week and go to 3-1, but
Oh, yeah, me too.
All right. Now let's shift over to the baseball playoffs.
I was going to yeah, go ahead.
What are you going to say? Because I know
I was
you
just
hate
gonna
baseball.
say. I was just gonna say, if you take away that fluke touchdown that Bilal Powell had, do you think they still win the game?
I don't know, man. I don't think so. I think that really changed the tempo because that was early too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And literally, if you take that touchdown away, I think the Jags win. It's just a mental mistake that the Jags made, and they lost the game because of it, I think. But, anyways, let's move on.
All right, so let's hold on, I'm trying to find some. I'm trying to. Paul, you still there?
You want to talk about the hockey real
Yeah, I'm
quick
here.
just for a minute? While
Yeah,
you're...
talk hockey while I'm trying to find something. Go
Okay.
ahead, you two talk
Chris,
hockey.
I want to ask, how do
I'm
you,
gonna
how
let
do
you
you feel?
two take over.
How do you feel about the Capitals' chances this year?
I don't think we're going to win our division. I really don't.
Okay, so definitely no President's Trophy, nothing
I don't
like
think
that this
I don't
year?
think President's Trophy. I still think we make the playoffs. You know, I still think that we make a strong run, but I think we're leaning on Alex Ovechkin just a little too much, and at some point he's got to regress. I mean, he's been an elite player since he joined the league, and he continues to show that he is an elite player. But I mean, he's getting old, man, and I don't know if I really do think last year's team is better than this year's team.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think that at some point he's going to regress, and I think this may be the beginning of it.
Fair enough. Do you think it's the Penguins to win again? Or is there another team that you've seen that went out in the offseason and made moves to make those that much better?
I mean, I'll be honest, I didn't follow all the moves, but I think the Penguins being the reigning champs, I mean, you got to have them favored, I think. I don't think they lost as much as we did in terms of the offseason. I mean, we lost a lot. I mean, we lost Carl Alsner, Schmitty, Shattenkirk, who was supposed to be our answer on defense for the playoffs. There was a lot of key pieces that we lost this offseason that I don't think we'll be able to recover from.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah. What about
agree
your
with
team?
that.
What do you think about the Devils?
So I was telling Matt this earlier. I said this is a team that I don't have high expectations for, where I did with the Mets and with the Giants. So I'm not expecting them to do anything. This is a very young team. They had the first pick in the draft and took Heeshire. So they grabbed him. They traded actually with the Capitals and got Johansson, the forward from you guys. They got a lot of young kids in there. Zajak's hurt, one of their more veteran players that they've had on the team for years. They got Henrique. So they got a couple of the core players. Taylor Hall, of course, is there now from the trade they made last season. But this is a team, and Schneider, of course, in goal. And you guys have another great goaltender there, too, at Holtby. But this is not a team I'm expecting to, do anything big. So if they make the playoffs, it's a huge improvement. But this is not a Stanley Cup team. This is not an elite team in the Eastern Conference. So whatever happens, it's going to be good to see how these young kids play together and what they're capable of. So I'm actually going into a season not with high expectations, so I don't have to get angry when the team starts 0-20 or something like that.
I mean, when you have like the first pick of the draft, I mean, is that the beginning of a rebuilding phase? I mean, or has that already started and this is just another
The Devils
piece?
have kind of been on that rebuilding phase. On the defensive side too, they have young guys who he re-signed Severson to an extension. They lost Merrill, who was one of their younger guys, to Vegas, so that kind of hurt. They kept they got a couple of the older guys. John Moore, one of the veteran players they have, he played pretty well. So they got a couple of young guys, like I said, on defense, offensive side. So they've been trying to get piece by piece. But I think Nico is that centerpiece that, like you said, in a rebuilding phase that you want to build around. And I think that's what they have in him. But I think this team is still, at least this season, to see how they play, and maybe another season or two before they're consistent, in the top of the Eastern Conference where they're going to contend every year.
Yeah, I think talking about re-signings, I mean, I think the Caps had two really big ones, and we really invested in TJ Oshie and Kuznetsov. I like Oshie a lot. I think he's definitely someone who's going to be a contributor. I just don't know if he can shoulder as much as we want him to. Especially if the grade 8 starts to fall off, I'm not sure if he can be that 1A guy. Maybe not the number 2 guy. He may need to end up being the 1A guy. Sorry, 1B. Yeah, 1B guy. But we'll see how it goes. I'm not sure. I mean, it's exciting. We just talked about this before the stream started. I'm going to enjoy this a lot more than baseball, because what is baseball nowadays?
I forgot baseball was still going on after April, man.
If the Mets were here, would you be more invested right now?
Of course. I'm just joking
Okay.
with you. I'm giving you a hard time.
Speaking of
Did our-
baseball,
did
Cleveland's
our,
up
did our
3.
screen-
Speaking of the Mets, no, we're
there
there.
it is.
Yeah.
Speaking of the
Yeah.
Mets, Jay Bruce just hit a home run to make it 3-0.
Stud, Mr. Bruce.
So have we segued over to baseball now?
I
The
took
playoffs.
every team that the Mets traded a player to is in the playoffs. Like
Wow.
not every single one, but Granderson's on the Dodgers, Bruce is there, Addison Reed's on the Red Sox, Jay Bruce on the Indians. So I mean, there's a couple players. At least I got someone I got to see one of these guys maybe win one.
Who did Duda
Dude,
go
I
to?
went to the Rays, so they didn't make it,
Oh.
and Neil Walker went to the Brewers, they didn't make it.
Paul, do you have that clip up yet?
Yeah, I think so. You want me
All
to
right,
play it?
so in a minute, I'll tell you in 1 second. So Tuesday night, Yankees, Minnesota. Yankees win 8-4. But after the top of the first, the Yankees were down 3-0. They took out their starter after 1 out. And then Paul's going to play a clip, and just hear the reaction of this crowd, because, postseason baseball, I think, brings out the best in the crowds for baseball. During the regular season, not as much, but it seems like during postseason the crowd gets even better. So Paul, play a clip of what happened during the bottom of the first inning.
Okay.
It's threatening. And the pitch rocked to right field. Tie game.
No sound.
You should hear it. You didn't hear it?
Maybe everyone else heard it but us.
Yeah, as long as it's on the stream.
All right, it's on the
All right.
stream. Okay, well, if it's on the stream, I mean that clip right there, everyone should see. I mean, just the crowd reaction, and Anthony, I don't know if when you were up in New York, you ever been to Yankee Stadium. I mean, they get big in the postseason. They're probably one of the better
I mean, it's a
postseason
huge
crowds. in
stadium.
baseball.
I've been to the stadium before.
You been to the
Very-
new one?
No, I have not. But I've been to the old one. But I've been to the new Met Stadium. But New York, the Yankees is a big, obviously, it's a championship pedigree. So now seeing this team, this is another team where a lot of people, I think one of us, I know it wasn't me, but I think either you or Chris picked them actually to make the
I
playoffs
did.
in the beginning of the year.
I did.
Both of
I
you
did
might
as
have.
well.
Okay. And I was very surprised. I thought they were good, but I didn't expect them to play
It's that
to this
young
level.
talent.
And I think a lot of Yankee fans did not expect this team
Well, no one
to-
thought Judge was going to play this good.
Yeah, but
Right.
the whole
I
team
said at the beginning of
overall
the year,
played well.
I said at the beginning of the year, this guy should be on the watch list. I didn't know he was going to do this, but
The
Like
pitching
we
has been
said-
a big thing. Like Sabathia has been a big surprise, I think, for the Yankees after
They
he
got
really
Sonny
hasn't been
Gray.
going well. So Sonny Gray hasn't really been too much of a factor yet. But again, like I said, this is just a team that again just didn't have. They thought they were going to play, they were going to contend. They had young talent, but they're contending at a higher level than I think a lot of people expected. So good for them, and it's nice to see how they're playing right now. And like you said, Aaron Judge, I mean, really lifted that team up in that first wild card game.
Yeah.
as good as that game was, I thought last night, the score, I think the score doesn't really reflect how close this game was. It was 8-11. But you go back to the innings before that ninth where they scored, the Nets 4 runs. It was going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Home run. You get to the bottom of the. Let me get to it right now. We had Story and why am I? God, I just blanked on people's names and it drives me nuts. Nolan Arenado. Arenado back-to-back home runs to make it 7-8, and then the triple in the ninth, and then you had the pitcher who hit the triple. So Arizona, back in the playoffs. So same for Colorado.
A relief pitcher too, right?
Yeah, it was a relief pitcher.
Pitcher. So I think that's the first time that I've ever seen
he hit
that.
a triple. Yeah. I think I saw that on SportsCenter last night.
Yeah.
He was the first one to hit a triple, I think.
So let's go with the game earlier today. We had a win for Houston, 8-2. Now Boston, let's go back to the offseason. They bring in Chris Sale to try to get them to the next level. He got shelled. 5 innings, 9 hits, 7 earned runs. I mean,
Wow.
Regular
Was that
season.
his postseason debut, or is he pitching a postseason with the White Sox?
I don't know. It may have been his debut, but Verlander, he pitched a pretty good game. Only allowed 2 runs, 6 hits, but Altuve, little 5'6" man batting in the 3 home runs. That is.
Hey man, I'm 5'6". I'm not that little.
You can't hit 3 home runs off of Chris Sale or any pitcher like that. So.
Chris Sale had a rough
can.
game, but another guy that all season for the Red Sox put them in the position they're in right now. So.
But now they gotta hope
You
that
mean MLB The Show?
now they gotta hope they can get back to him, because now you're in trouble to where he won't get the pitch again. So they're in danger to where you won't see Chris Sale again. He may have 1 postseason appearance, and that's it.
Before today, did either of you have Boston winning the series?
No, I had Houston the whole way.
I have Boston winning the series still, because I'm not going to switch just because they lost today. Because I think that's a huge blow, like you said, because that's Sale that pitched today. But I have Boston winning.
Houston, it's great.
I thought their youth would be exploited possibly because they haven't all been there before, and I thought that the Red Sox, with all the veterans and being there, would be able to show it.
The difference on the team with that leadership and the entering the.
That's fair. He could be a huge addition, and he pitched game 1 and he started them off with a great spark to the series. So I think it could make a big difference. What about you, Chris?
Who ended up with the best record?
Indians
did. I don't know. Houston was that top dog for a while. So I think when it comes to
but they didn't lose. I mean, they only lost by two games or something. So it's not, and they still went over 100 wins. So still impressive.
Yeah, I mean, it's still an impressive, and I think they're the better team. So that's for me. If you were the top dog for most of the season, I know playoffs is a different animal, but as a competitor, you want to play your best, and if you've already played fairly well in the regular season, I think they're going to turn it up in the postseason.
All right, so right now we have Cleveland up 3-0 in the Yankees. Regardless of the score, I had Cleveland winning this. Beginning of the season, I had Cleveland in the World Series. Whether that changed, we'll talk about that in a minute. But Cleveland's up 3-0 right now. Like I said, Jay Bruce hit a 2-run homer. Sonny Gray, he's already had 72 pitches and not even three and a third. So I still have Cleveland winning the series. Do you guys any of you two have the Yankees at all?
Yeah, I picked them to win, to make it to the World Series.
To the World Series, wow.
Yep. I only picked it because it was on the fly. Honestly, it was on the fly.
Fair enough. I have Cleveland winning this series as well. You all right there, Matt? Okay, got some startling news.
No, I was looking at the thing. All right, so let's move over to the NL side. This is where my shockers are going to come first. We'll talk about the Nats second. Let's go with the Dodgers, Arizona. I got Arizona winning this series in 5 because I'm going to say because first off, Kershaw, his postseason is a little bit. I just like the hitting better for Arizona. I feel like they're top to bottom. They can hit the long ball. We saw last night. They got speed. They got the base running. Pitching, I still think go to the Dodgers, but I feel like this Arizona offense can really get to them, and they were red hot at the end of the year. I mean, they were still a 90-something win team as a wild card. Most divisions, without, this kind of year where we had 300 win winners, but any kind of previous year, that's a division winner right there. I'm going to say Arizona pulls off the upset and the Dodgers blunder again in the playoffs. You guys for the series?
Chris,
well,
go ahead.
I was going to say just a quick thing. Even though the Dodgers, have the better record against Arizona, though they're 8-11. So I think that just right there goes to show you that, for some reason, Arizona has their number. And right now, I think the Dodgers are kind of cold when it comes to offense.
I mean, they won 11 in a row, then they lost 11 in a row, and then they lost 11 in a row.
Yeah, I mean, I just think
and
right
that
now
actually opened the door for the Dodgers to maybe try to crawl.
Mhm.
I think it was still too much of a deficit, but it still opened the door a little bit.
Yeah, and I just think, although I love Clayton Kershaw and I want to see him against Matt Scherzer at some point, like you said, his postseason woes is not something you can ignore. So I think Arizona finds a way to win that one.
Wow! So both are going with the wild card team. Anthony, are you going to change this, or are you gonna stay with me and Chris?
I'm going with the Dodgers. I think that they're finally going to do something here that, like you said, they've had a hard time doing, and I think this is where they have to make the play. And they need to win this. They need to win this series and show that they can get out of the first round.
All right. Now we'll go with Nationals in Chicago. I'll start with this. I'm gonna go with the Nats. Yes, I'm a homeboy, but because I feel like this is the most complete team they've ever had in the playoffs. Everyone always talks about, every year they make it, this team's better, this team's better. I truly believe that this is a better team, mostly because I feel like their bullpen is better this year than previous years. They actually went out the deadline and actually got more than just a closer. Doolittle, Matson, I can't think of the guy's name from the Twins' former closer. I know it starts with a K, and I'm blanking on his name, and I really hate when I do that. Paul, I always blank on names, Paul. Do you ever realize that?
Yeah, I do. Like every time.
I think we all do.
Kinsler, there we go. Kinsler, I feel like, that's a complete bullpen right there. Those guys, 7, 8, 9. Doolittle's been having a pretty good second half of the season as a closer. I think he was 21 for 22 with a 1 ERA, which is not bad for someone who switched, leads. Like we said, 3 starting pitchers below a 3.0 ERA. And I remember me and Anthony, we talked about this. We were like, damn, when was the last time a team ever had that? And I couldn't remember. And it was actually the Nationals 2014. And it was 3 unlikely pitchers that had that too. Jordan Zimmerman, which you can expect because before, when he was with the Nats, he was dominant. The other 2 were Taylor Roark and Doug Fister had a sub-3 ERA back in the day. I remember, I think at one point this year you wanted the Mets to sign him, I believe.
I did. When they were having injuries in the beginning of the year.
Yeah, before that, I don't remember. So I really thought this hasn't happened in a while. I can't remember, it was the Nationals, but that was another year where Strasburg, I think that was his one lone playoff appearance. So finally, Strasburg's healthy. Scherzer says he's good to go. He says he's 90%. They're going to hold him out of game 1. He'll probably either go game 2 or 3. The problem.
RG3 said he was good to go too. Just
RG3, I think, had a bigger knee problem than Scherzer.
I'm just saying.
Scherzer's won 2 Cy Youngs. What has RG3 won? Nothing. So thank you very much with that. You can stop with the RG3.
Oh, there it is.
Always starting with that shit with RG3.
I'm just saying. Are you going to listen to the player or you're going to listen to the trainer?
I'm listening to him. Said he's good to go.
Noah Syndergaard said he was good to go, and look what happened against you guys.
Yeah. Well, did your GM or anything approve of that?
I mean, if you tell him he needs to get surgery, you tell him he needs to get surgery. I mean, he can't go out there if you tell him he's not the starting. As long as he doesn't write him on the sheet that he's pitching, he can't play.
Sure, there's a little bit better form than that. So I think they got the pitching. Harper came back just in time, and he said, and everyone from the trainer to Dusty to Rizzo, Harper's 90%. They said by game time tomorrow he's going to be 100% ready to go. They said if he wasn't, they wouldn't have risked it. So we got pretty much finally, and Chris, me and you have been watching this team since the beginning. They have an opening day roster that's lasts through the whole season and is now in the postseason. The only exception is Adam Eaton. But as Anthony, me and you, I was talking to you about in April, Michael Taylor's actually finally starting to play good. Because remember, I told you during that game he was Michael Strikeout Taylor, and he proved me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So he's playing a lot better. Jason Worth, I think he's come back from his injury better than ever. And as you said, we have the Cub Killer on our team. The Cub Killer's with us this series. Anthony doesn't even want to comment on that. That's what he did for you guys.
When it's my turn, I'll speak. Chris,
All
go
right,
ahead.
I'll be really quick.
So I got the Nats in 4.
Okay. I want to say the Nats. I really do. And you know what? I'm going to say the Nats. And I agree with a lot of the things you said in terms of.
Do you feel
I
this is
think
the best bullpen they've had in a
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. That's kind of our edge right there, is the fact that our bullpen is a lot better than the Chicago Cubs.
Jake
But
Arrieta has been pushed to Game 3, so I mean they've also lost someone, as well.
Right, and I think that's their biggest kind of unknown for the Cubs is their bullpen. But one thing that's not not unknown is that the Cubs can put up. They have the best OPS in the second half of the season. So they're getting on base, and I don't think they're going to have a problem scoring. But I know that the Nationals can definitely score as well. We've seen it live, the three of us. So, I think the Nats definitely can find a way if Max Scherzer is healthy. He says he's good to go, but hamstrings can be tricky. And also Bryce Harper. Is he going to be full go? And if he is, then I think we got it.
All right, Anthony. Go
My
ahead.
turn?
Yep. Talk about the Cub killer.
I'm picking Daniel Murphy and the Nationals to beat the Cubs in this series.
Is it because of Daniel Murphy?
He said
I think
Daniel
that
Murphy.
I think the Nationals have a lot of things going for them right now that they needed to have going. The bullpen, number one and first and foremost, was their biggest weakness in the beginning of the season. The offense is never an issue, I thought, for them. I thought offensively they have one of the better lineups in the league. Like Chris said that he likes to bring up every time that I'm on the show. I got to see it in person myself. But I think overall this team is just a very strong team. Now, with that being said, you are playing the Cubs, who are the reigning champions, and the Nationals do have a hard time sometimes in the playoffs, but that does not stray me away from what I've seen in the regular season from these guys, that their top three pitchers have been really well. This is a 5-game series, so if they can get 3 games, like you said, Arrieta won't be going until Game 3. This first matchup, I think it's Strasburg versus Hendricks. So I like already the matchup in favor of the Nationals there. I think if Strasburg, am I saying, is it Strasburg or Strasburg? Strasburg gets them to the 7th inning. I mean, you go set up closer, and I think that's what you really need. I mean, if he goes even further, obviously the better. But if he can get you 7 strong innings, I mean, I just think that you guys have the team right now to be very potent and have a big, strong run here in this postseason this year. And that's why, as unlikely as I think a lot of people will probably disagree with all three of us, I think the Cubs will be eliminated even as the reigning champions, because they just have not shown me that same team that they were a year ago at all this year. I didn't see it. I saw spurts of them being hot. I know towards the end of the season they got hot, but I just think the Nationals have shown me more this season than the Cubs have.
I can appreciate that. Thank you. I appreciate that. We got to represent the NL East, right?
I mean, I don't want you guys to win the World Series. We haven't gotten there yet.
All right, so we're gonna end it on that on the NLDS, and then once we get going to the AL and NLCS, we'll preview that as we go. You want to go ahead and do it all?
Yeah, this way I can't change it after.
Okay, well,
Except
I'm gonna
with
have
the Red Sox, even though the Astros whooped them today.
So I have in my ALCS, I have Astro Indians. I have the Indians going to the World Series. Chris, who do you have in the World Series? Well, you picked the Yankees and the Houston. Who do you have out of that?
Are you sticking with the Yankees?
I guess I have to. I'm kind of forced.
Well, who'd you have? The Astros versus the Yankees?
Yeah.
And you going Yankees?
I mean,
it's still possible. It's only one game.
Yeah.
One game is not going to change anything here.
All right, Anthony, who do you have?
I have the Cleveland versus Boston, and I have Cleveland going to the World Series.
All right, let's go on the other side. I have Arizona and the Nationals after seeing the postseason. I'm going to stick Nationals World Series.
Chris, who you got?
You have Arizona and the Nats. Who do you got?
The Nationals.
Anthony, you got National Dodgers.
I have the Nationals.
Wow. Now, this happened
I would
before.
like to see that, though. I really would like to see that.
All right, so, Chris, you have the Yanks and the Nats. Who do you have?
The Nats, and I hope I make a lot of money selling those tickets.
Are you going to try to buy World Series tickets?
Oh, yeah. Of course.
All right, so, Anthony, you have Nats and Indians. Who do you have?
Well, you can stop liking me because I'm going with the Indians.
That's fine. I have Nats and Indians, and I said at the beginning of the year I picked the Indians. I love the Nats. I feel like the Indians are the more complete team. I feel like all around their bullpen, they're hitting. As much as I would love to have a parade in D.C., just that my heart wants to say Nats, but in terms of baseball and this kind of lineup the Indians have, I got to go with the Indians, man. I just feel like, I know I'm going to get some hate from national fans, but I got to go with baseball here. The Indians came within so close last year, and I feel like this year they will get over the hump and win the World Series. I just feel like it's the Indians' time.
Gonna be some great matchups in the pitching if that ends up being the World Series. The two of them with
You may see
Scherzer
some 1-2 run
versus
games.
Kluber. Yeah, I mean
hope
it's gonna
that
be awesome. I mean, don't discount the Nationals though. On my part, I think the Nationals have
Well,
the
same with
opportunity
me.
to
It's
do
just
it.
I feel like
no,
the
I
Indians,
mean, you're a
are, more,
fan,
the
so I
Indians
know.
are more motivated. I feel like
I
this
didn't-
year.
Yeah, I didn't really give a reason. That's what I'm saying. I picked the Red Sox at the beginning of the year. I just don't. After today, I think it's gonna be an uphill battle for them throughout it, and I think the Indians are the better team right now in the AL. So I just think that they're going to be hungry from last year because they were right there too at the end. In the World
It's in their
Series last year against the
in their
Cubs.
fingertips.
So I think it could go either way, man. I think that there's a lot of teams that we've talked about that have the potential of being the World Series champions, but I really think the Indians, out of all the teams on both sides, is the team that to me sticks out the most as the people that could win the World Series.
So that's our preview. Now, obviously, we saw our picks, but once we get to like I said, the championship series, we'll preview those once again. We'll see who's right and who's wrong. So we'll get some more previews on that, which will be. Will they be done by Thursday?
Depends,
It's possible,
right?
I think. Yeah, I think it's possible. Let's see. I'll check the schedule as we figure it out.
We wrap it up.
I think Thursday would be game 5 for the NL. If that would happen, that'd be game
No,
5.
would it be?
Yep.
Game 5 would be Wednesday for the AL, like you said, and Game 5 would be Thursday. So on Thursday we would
So
have
we'll see
if they go to 5.
We'll see if they're done by. Hopefully they don't. The only game I have that could go to 5 is my Dodgers Arizona series. So
I would love to see Arizona win that. That'd be great. But
real quick, since Chris wanted to mention it, USA does play Panama tomorrow. Must-win game. Once again, I don't understand why Jordan Morris is not on this lineup. I think he's shown enough explosiveness as a striker. I think he should be there more than Chris Wondolowski and DeMarcus Beasley. I'm just confused because the dude's old. He can't. We've seen the past couple qualifiers. He can't keep up with anyone anymore.
Yeah,
so.
he's been burned a couple times.
That's just me. I hope USA wins tomorrow. I'm going to be rooting for him. Now, do I think USA will make the World Cup? Yeah, because I think they can beat anyone in Oceania for that last spot. So I still think USA is going to be in the World Cup. I just would rather get a top 3 and not have to go to that one-off. Do you guys think they're going to win tomorrow?
I mean,
got
I would like to see them win. So yeah.
It's going to be tough. I think they can do it, but it's just a matter of which team shows up.
We're 2 months away from the World Cup draws. Isn't it crazy that they go this far in the qualifying? Do you all think the qualifying, just to be honest, should be over probably by the summer? Do you think they should go this deep?
I mean,
I
fall
think it's
literally
cool.
just started.
Oh, yes. What do y'all think about like after this World Cup in another 5 years, where it's going to be during December when it's in Qatar?
Yeah, that's weird. I'm not sure how that's going to work
I don't
out.
know how their
That's
ratings
still
are going
to
to
be
do.
determined.
Because I'm thinking if it starts in December, usually what World Cup goes from June, it goes in July a little bit, right?
Yeah, I think it's
Maybe
It's going to July. Yeah.
And their games on Sunday, they may be fighting with the final week of the NFL season or even a playoff matchup. So their ratings, I mean, obviously they'll have the whole world ratings, but in terms of U.S. ratings, they're going to suffer. I'll still go watch.
We'll see
I'll
what
still watch
happens.
the World Cup. But
I mean, the World Cup is the World Cup.
tell you what, the cool thing about the World Cup is women's and men's, it brings out a lot of USA pride. A lot.
As we just speak, the Buccaneers just scored a touchdown, and we forgot to talk about that. What do you think about Doug Martin's return? You think that makes a huge boost to the offense?
Yeah, 100%. I think the people that drafted him late, taking a gamble on him being the starter after week 4, then I think it's going to pay off. I think patience definitely.
Where are you seeing this?
Did they score or did they take it back? I thought it said they
had
just
him at
scored.
1.
I don't know. I'm watching soccer right now.
Can you imagine if they put Rodgers in?
It's a replay. It's a replay. They're
so that's why.
they're
Was it Doug
reviewing
Martin too?
Yeah, it's Doug Martin. They're reviewing the
Can
play.
you imagine if they took that away and they let Rodgers go in, the vulture Doug Martin? Oh, that would have sucked. Throw a fade route.
So they're checking that right now. So that's what it is. So Doug Martin is
Just
possibly
said
with a
start
touchdown.
James this week, and every damn week.
Actually, it says call overturned.
So
Wow.
no touchdown.
No
Every
touchdown.
week it's start and sit them. Whoever I say to start, just and whoever I says to sit, they
Yeah,
just
seriously,
blow
that's
up.
like last week I picked somebody. I don't remember. I said to
So
sit
start
somebody and
just
they
on
went off.
this week because I said don't start them.
Oh,
All
now
right,
they
guys,
don't know what to do.
I think that's gonna do it for us this week. I'm glad to be back on Thursdays now. What episode number is it?
92, I think, right?
Yeah, sorry, 92, right? Yep.
We're close, and who knows? Maybe for the 100th, maybe we'll get a special appearance by someone. Who knows? Someone may show up in studio.
RG3?
That'd be awesome.
Kick him in his
Can we get RG3?
kick him right in the knee. Watch him.
How about you reach out to him? See if he'll
I
come on
can't.
the
I'm
show.
blocked on Twitter, so I can't reach out to him. Bad block me.
That's funny.
That's funny.
Oh, I'll let you take it away. I always do it. I'll let you do it this week.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for watching and chiming in the chat room. We love to see that action in the chat room for sure. So you can find us on YouTube /Shipe Sports Talk. You can find us on Twitter. Tweet us at Shipe Sports Talk. Everything is Shipe Sports Talk. www.shipesportstalk.com and shipesportstalk@gmail.com. So subscribe our YouTube channel and like our Facebook page, and go ahead and click on the notifications on the YouTube channel, so you got whenever we post something, you get notification that something gets uploaded or popped up or whatever. So that way you won't miss a thing.
All right. So thank you for joining us again I guess we can say on the road to 100. I guess we can start. The countdown's been on, but now we're officially on the road to 100. So for myself, Anthony, Chris, and our best producer out there in all of podcast land, Paul.
That's right.
Thank you for joining us. I know Anthony, I believe OT3 is going to make a comeback in November because we got some big things happening in WWE in November, especially that one
sir.
weekend. So look for us. What does that happen? About the end of November?
Mid-November, end of November, yeah. Like right before Thanksgiving usually.
Yeah, look for us to come out with OT3. So like I said, once again, for myself, Anthony, Chris, and Paul, thank you for joining us. And enjoy. The hunt for October is done. Enjoy the postseason. Go enjoy some NFL, and hopefully your team doesn't get 47 points against them. Good night, everyone.
See ya.
47?
Have a
I
it's
said
57.
Oh, I heard 47. My bad. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.